Good day, Internet. I've scoured websites, Amazon lists, badgered bookstore employees, and harvested the depths of my acquaintances' depravity, all to get a list for you people. I just hope you appreciate it, because I have knives. Okay, yeah, so I seriously did. I was like all over the place trying to find all these lists and things like that. Amazon Listopias are absolutely useless for a lot of this stuff because it's so... People don't do a lot of, I think, research when they put those together. They're just like, these are my favorites. Whatever. And that's fine. Not all that helpful, but it's fine. Goodreads wasn't a good source of it either. It turns out there just aren't a lot of YA horror books out there. Gone are the gold rush days of Goosebumps and R.L. Stine and the Darren Shan books. If anything, taking a look at YA horror and trying to find a comprehensive list of YA horror has pointed out to me that it's on the endangered species list. Take a look at Rick Yancey's Monstrumologist series. Here you have a critically acclaimed Prince Honor book in the Monstrumologist and other honors as well that has since been canceled because of poor sales, or what the publisher reports as poor sales. A lot of times I hear, and I see on YouTube videos too, that when YA horror is mentioned, one of the first things that people say is, I don't read a lot of it. Or that I don't like to be scared, that kind of thing. This is like a sea change. Have you heard the term sea change? That means that things have like flipped completely. In the 80s, any teenager that you would ask was totally into horror movies. That was the only kind of movies they were interested in. It was like, if they were going to a movie on Friday, they were going to trick their parents into buying them like PG-rated tickets, and then they were going to sneak into the R-rated horror movie and see some other teenagers get slashed up. Or, 25-year-olds playing 16-year-olds. And that was certainly true of books. Stephen King wasn't just the biggest thing around because he liked donuts. It was horror. It was a big thing. That was like the heyday of horror, actually. Pretty much everyone was reading it. It was always at the top of the New York Times bestseller list. That this has changed makes me really sad because I feel like that the purpose of books are to, not just to entertain you, go, oh, yeah, that's a good book, but to actually elicit some sort of emotion in you, whether it's sort of this romantic kind of gauzy emotion from reading a romance, or the exhilaration of being thrilled or frightened or sad or whatever. I mean, it's hard enough these days to express yourself in any sort of real way because you've got, these barriers. You've got the internet. And the internet is pretty much a wall. I think we can all agree that it is a wall, just as much as it is a way to reach out. But at the same time, it gives you the opportunity to present a specific aspect of yourself in sort of a very safe way, because you can edit it. It's not like a face-to-face encounter, which is, one of those things where you can say something that's horrible and someone can be shocked and offended and you could feel bad and whatever. That's great stuff. Even if you do feel bad about something, that's fine. It's real. You're feeling an emotion. It's what separates us, I think, from I don't know who, from aliens? I don't know. From the aliens, let's say. I'm just going to throw this out there because I think it might be important to someone. And that is the reluctance to experience fear and to allow like our children to experience fear has debilitated an entire generation. The less you feel like you have to deal with things yourself, the less able you are to deal with things. That's it, because you don't have to deal with it. Horror movies and horror books to some extent were at least a way to access that emotion in a sort of a safer way. We used to say, it was just like a thing that we always used to say when we would get into situations. It's like I hear the music. That was our line, I hear the music. And that means it's time to run. It's time to get the hell out of there. And we totally got that from horror movies. Because it always had that weird music going on. Oh my God. So anyway, I don't know how you people let me go off on these diatribes. It's like no one can tap me on the shoulder. No one? So back to the YA horror book project. I had to put some parameters on it or else it would, kind of just become this huge thing. What was going to be included in YA horror, what wasn't. I needed to limit myself because, a lot of this stuff has to do with, it falls under the same thing about why aren't boys reading books. And that's because they're all, everything is geared towards girls. And I do worry that that's, that's another reason why the books aren't frightening, or that horror is getting sort of watered down into urban fantasy, is because people are afraid of fear or afraid to allow themselves access to that particular emotion. Anyway, so what I did was I said, okay, if horror is being used as a trope, as sort of a watered down idea, like vampires used to be scary, but now in sort of in YA urban fantasy, they're not. They're the heroes. So if it was that sort of a situation, the book was not valid. So I was like, no, not a horror book. It's an urban fantasy book. I needed to split that out completely. So that's one piece to it. The other piece was that I wanted these to be relatively current. So books that you could still find on the bookshelf rather than something that you would have to order. So I want to say 2010, 2009 at the latest, and then forward. So it's, but it's a fairly big list. And I mean, you can check the links below in the down bar and get the full list, but I'll let it scroll here pretty soon too. Anyway, so those were my big criteria. And that horror had to be the primary purpose of the book. So that's it. So here, without further ado, is my list. So yeah, it's a lot of books, and I know they kind of scrolled quick. So if you want to check the link in the down bar, you can get a list yourself and print it up and take it to the bookstore or wherever. Get it on ebook. I don't care. But check out some horror stuff, and don't be afraid to be afraid. The more that we don't buy books of this type, or boy books or whatever, the less the publishers are going to print them. We're in a very precarious situation with the economy right now. So any time that something doesn't sell, they're not going to buy more of that. So then you keep getting a more and more like homogenous set of books that come out. And then pretty soon, a year or two from now, you're going to be saying, what? All these books are exactly the same. And it's no one's fault but our own. It's the reader's fault, because the publishers follow exactly what the readers are buying. Not what they say they want, but what they're buying. That's the biggest issue. We as readers determine what the publishers print through our dollars. I saw that there's a big write-in campaign going on about saving the Monstermologist series. I seriously don't expect that that's going to have any effect whatsoever. And it's sad, because I'm sure that that's a good series. I haven't read it. So out of all those books, and there are 45, if you'd like to know which ones I'm reading for my Halloween horror month that seems like it's going to stretch into 2 months, I'll probably do that in a TBR video if you like. Just let me know down in the comment section, and feel free, because this is a project, and a project that is sort of encompassing of other people too, go to my blog, link in the down bar, and go ahead and add or suggest that maybe some things don't belong. If you don't feel like they meet my criteria, you can let me know in my current list, and add things to the comments in my blog to show exactly which books you think should have made the cut. And I'll fix it up. Eventually I'll probably make a Goodreads list or an Amazon Listopia list, and we'll go from there. And it should be exciting. I'm hoping that that there's a lot of books that we can add to the list. Or maybe not. Maybe I've really done my homework. That's it. So don't be afraid to go access your fear. Read some horror books in the next couple of months, and then make a video about it. Tell people about your horror book reading. And then link it back here as a response video. I might like that. Who knows?